to 2 of our 49 actions being about making sure we are doing everything we can to ensure the cyclone recovery is advanced and accelerated. So our first 2 commitments is that we are going to make sure that we are here engaging with the local community and the mayors in particular, and the Matariki team that's here in the Hawke's Bay that's been doing such an exceptionally good job to understand what the needs are. We've all visited here independently in opposition many times and have had those relationships and those conversations as well, but it's good to be able to sort of understand what we need to be accelerating. And then secondarily, make sure that we actually in the new year obviously have orders in council that if there's anything we need to be accelerating and turbocharging, that we actually look to do that as well. So, a really good day to actually say, look, we're going to continue everything that the previous government has put in place. We don't want to turn all of that upside down, but we are here to make sure that we can unblock things if there's things that need to be and decisions that need to be made to keep things moving along quickly. That's what we're going to do as well. So very good day, very successful day. Great to be here with Catherine and Katie, who are such great strong advocates for the Bay in general and have done such a brilliant job of advocating and representing the interests and the needs here. Awesome to be here with Mark Mitchell, who's our Emergency Management and Recovery Minister, but also with Simeon being our Transport and Local Government Minister and responsibility around 3 waters. We brought all of us together so that we could actually all take it all in as a team, which has been fantastic. With that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, you drove down. It must have been an experience that most of us have already been through.
Yeah.
What happened with Craig Little? Where did that end up?
Oh, it was a fantastic conversation. Wairoa, both Katie and Mark and Catherine have been into Wairoa, and Mark and Katie were in there very quickly in the first 4 days, actually. I hadn't been able to get to Wairoa, and I'd wanted to, and for some time. And that's why we took the opportunity to do that today. So we drove up State Highway 2 to Wairoa, and we drove back down State Highway 2. Got the full experience, have a full understanding, and when you travel with someone like Katie Nimmin, who understands roads incredibly well, I got an explanation of every 100 metres of that road up to Wairoa and back again. So we got out and we inspected a Bailey Bridge, and we looked at the challenges that we see on that road, which are quite profound and quite serious. So that was good. And then we obviously, the big topic of conversation, particularly that we really have to get resolved for in Wairoa, is actually flood protection. And talking about that was with Craig Little and Denise was really important.
Going to put some money into it?
Well, we want to get an assessment of what it is that they actually needed, and some of it will be money, and some of it will be regulation, and some of it will be, frankly, actually how do we fast track consenting so that we don't get locked in a loop of endless conversation and talk and actually things not getting done. And as you've seen in New Zealand over many years, we get into these loops of consultation and conversation, which are all very lovely, but actually nothing gets built, and as a result the cost of actually building things goes up and up and up, and as a result gets too expensive for us to actually do. So there's more talk and more conversation and still nothing gets done. And we are here to turn the country around. We're here to deliver actions. That's why we've got a 100-day action plan. And that's what we're here to do. So it was good to get a sense of the priorities of where we think we can put some emphasis and some push.
What did you hear from the other mayors in the region?
Again, I have to say Hawke's Bay is the best in the country in terms of the collaboration that happens between the district councils, the regional council, and also mana whenua. And it's just so exciting to see the way that everyone comes here and works together. And it's really helpful for us in central government because it means that you get one signal of what the needs are in a region like this. And again, we went through a series of conversations around fast track consenting. Certainly flood protection was an issue, water security. We talked a lot about roads, local roads, and also state highways. We also talked about just general infrastructure demands and needs as well. So, again, we came out of those conversations with a very good join up and a very good sense of a community that's very, very focused and has been going through a really challenging and tough time. And these are hard conversations, and I think the community here has been very well represented by leaders both in the district councils and regional councils and also mana whenua, and it's been it's a great model that actually I'd love to see more of across New Zealand as well.
In Wairoa, you said Minister Mitchell was going to go away over Christmas, do a bit of homework and...
We're all working hard, yeah.
Take in everything that the mayors have said today and sort of figure out what's going to be delivered. Is there any kind of time frame on when the people on the ground here might hear back about extra government support?
So what we've said is, as a Cabinet, we have our 100-day plan program. In there are 49 actions Two of those actions are actually first and foremost to come and have the engagements and the consultations we've had today. Simeon is back here next Saturday with the NZTA going through all the detail of the roading projects in the region. Mark has already been here last week as well, meeting with many of the stakeholders, and we've all come together, the five of us today as well. So that's job number one, to make sure we've got a good assessment, to reassure everybody that we're not throwing out categorisation of land and reinventing all of that and turning all of that upside down. We're going to continue to meet the obligations and the commitments that have already been made by the previous government, but our job here is to make sure that as we hit the year mark, that we have a good plan about how we're actually generally going to drive the recovery, not just the response. And then as we go into the new year, around February, if there's any orders in councils or any different powers and engagements that we need to understand that, and obviously there might be budget bids that will be needed, I suspect, for the budget that comes out in May, that Minister Mitchell will obviously discuss with the Minister of Finance. So, that's the process for us going through from here. But again, it's about prioritisation. What's the most important things that makes the most amount of difference, the most amount of people in the fastest amount of time?
You've seen the road, Prime Minister. What can you really do about it? I mean, it's been closed several times lately, on top of all the closures after the cyclone.
Yeah, it was closed 2 days in the last week, and so every time it's closed, it's about a loss of $3 million worth of productivity in the local economy. And just actually seeing the traffic that's going up and down on that road and what's being carried, from logs to water tanks to food, to people just trying to go about their daily business, it's pretty profound. So, there's a big conversation to happen on State Highway 2. Yep.
Does the railway feature anywhere in those plans?
I have to say to you, my personal view is that railway is a low priority and is something that we shouldn't be progressing. I'd sooner take the money from that and go invest it in upgrading the roads and making investments in flood protection and other things. So I think the bottom line for me is actually the Napier to Wairoa rail link has been poorly utilised. I think it's money and it's bad, good money going after bad, and actually we could deploy that money doing other things.
The Waikato deviation will require $250 million. Can the new government guarantee that the funding will be available in the next 3 years as the NZTA hopes?
Well, again, that's the challenge that we've been going through in the last, almost 2 weeks in government, is that in the last 10 days we've been taking endless briefings as we try and understand the state of New Zealand's books, which we have a feeling are not in good shape and are in worse shape than we were led to believe. And as a result, we've got to make sure that we can look at all those funding commitments and make sure that how can we prioritise them and how do we actually deliver them over time. So that's a big piece of work that we're going through as a team right now.
How does State Highway 2 stack up on roads in travel? Is it the worst?
It's up there. I got to be honest. It's probably the worst. Certainly the Brenduins is another road that has some of the same conditions in terms of what happens with the earth and the ground, in terms of how slips happen and how the roads are closed. But I'd certainly say State Highway 2 is in really bad shape. Yep, as you well know.
Some mayors believe the local government system is broken. An independent review obviously was done last year with recommendations. Would you be prepared to implement those recommendations?
Well, again, we have our own views on how we want local government and central government working together. As I've said before, it's often a punch and duty show. And at the end of the day, the people that are in district councils, are ratepayers. They also happen to be taxpayers to New Zealand. They're the same people. And so what I want to see is actually central and local government working together in a much better way, a more constructive way, that actually takes a longer term view of actually how we solve some of the problems for people in the sub-regions of New Zealand. And so that's why I'm so impressed by the fact that actually we've got 4 district councils, 1 regional council, plus mana whenua leaders here all together, actually advocating and articulating with great clarity what the needs are for a sub-region like Hawke's Bay. And that is so helpful for us, because then we can actually partner in a much more constructive way. And whether it's through the construction of what we call city or regional deals, whether it's actually the build out of a long-term pipeline of infrastructure projects that actually we get set up so they don't keep changing when politicians change, but they actually keep happening for the people, those are the sorts of things that we want to talk about, how we can work together in a much better way.
What's your What's your understanding of where the buyout process is at for whenua Māori? Obviously, for single title land, that's well underway, but for whenua Māori, we kind of haven't heard anything. Where's that at?
Yeah, that was actually the first priority. Actually, we discussed upstairs, and it was all about that has actually been lagging behind where we are with general land, and that's something that was a big takeaway and an action for us as well. Yeah.
So no update on that?
Well, it's just, for me, it was actually us registering, and that was why it was so important to have the mana whenua leaders there as well as part of the Matariki management group, to actually articulate and highlight for us quite clearly how that process is a parallel pathway, but actually is behind the general land pathway, and that's actually, there's some good actions for us to take away and think about how we can accelerate and speed that up.
What assurance can you give the people of Wairau that they haven't been forgotten, because they're feeling pretty forgotten at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think the fact that we came at very short notice en masse, and we brought everybody that actually is able to actually drive the decisions and actually engage on the conversation, I think underscores how committed we are to Wairau. It's not forgotten. That's what we wanted them to understand by us all coming there today. And it was fantastic to spend time with Craig and Denise and others who actually have a real passion for the community and were able to articulate that incredibly well. And so, no, they're not forgotten at all. And that's the point of why we wanted to come.
Did you meet any of the locals?
Met a few. It was a pretty quick trip. I mean, we went out to the marae, but we also had some very good conversations with Leon and his team as well, and talking about what else we need to do around flood protection. Obviously, housing's a major challenge in the area as well, and obviously the roading were the big takeaways there.
I just have an unrelated question for Minister Brown, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's just on Auckland Transport.
Oh, yes.
Auckland Transport says it's struggling to keep on top of all the damaged roads, so sort of related. And it needs more funding to get ahead of it. Will the government give them that new funding? I think they're after about 200 million.
Yeah, well, we're currently rewriting the government policy statement on transport and changing it from a government policy statement which is focused on light rail and big grandiose projects back to focusing on our roads. Building and maintaining our roads will be the number one priority under a national government, so we're rewriting that. That means that then allocates the funding and the priorities, and so that's the work we're doing right now, and we'll be going out for consultation in the early new year on that.
So it looks like AT will get more funding?
Well, the reality is we want to see greater focus on building and maintaining the roading network. So obviously there's a process we need to go through in terms of how we do that. Rewriting the government policy statement is the tool that I have as the Minister of Transport, and as we as a government have, to reallocate those funds and prioritise fixing our roads rather than building big white elephants like light rail, which is what the previous government was focused on.
Great. Well, guys, can I just say, firstly, thank you so much again for coming out, and enjoy your weekends. Have a good time. All right, see ya.
Thank you.
Good.